The story of the Great Flood and Namu Doryeong. When the gods still roamed the earth, a beautiful fairy came down to earth and lay down next to a tree. Loving the scenery here, she often stood under the magic tree playing the flute, and soon, she became pregnant. The spirit boy Namu Doryeong, or also known as Namu Doryeong, was born and raised under an oak tree. Thus, Namu Doryeong is the son of a magical oak tree and a fairy. When Doryeong was 7 years old, his mother had to return to the upper world, leaving Doryeong in the care of his father. Many years later, the oak father suddenly predicted an impending battle. He called his son to inform him that at that time he would be uprooted. Doryeong should climb on his body and escape. Then the heavy rain flooded the whole world and all living things died. Thanks to Doryeong climbing on his old father's body, he escaped death and floated adrift. Spirits can understand the voices of animals, so while drifting, Namu Doryeong heard the cry of a group of ants. With his father's permission, he hurriedly saved the ants. In the middle of the flood, he saved another stork and a wild boar with his father's permission. He saw a boy about the same age being swept away by the flood. Oak's father forbade him, but Doryeong brushed it off, saving the boy from danger. The oak tree floated to Baekdu Mountain, the highest mountain in the country. Up there, Doryeong and the boy encountered a house that escaped the flood by sitting on the top of the mountain. In the house there was an old woman, her daughter and a maid. There was no one left in the world, so the old woman decided to let Doryeong and the young man compete, and whoever won would get to marry her daughter. The old woman saw that Doryeong seemed weak and fragile, so she didn't like it, because she only tried her hand and foot. The first challenge is to plow the land at the foot of the mountain. The young man eagerly went down the mountain to get to work. But human strength is limited, he can't do much with only a few tree branches in his hand. Meanwhile, Doryeong is still struggling to think. Because he was originally a spirit, his limbs were somewhat weaker than those of humans. Suddenly from the bushes, a wild boar ran out and told Doryeong that it would help him. Having said that, he enthusiastically bulldozed, and only a moment later the land under the mountain was completely dug up. The old woman's second challenge was that whoever sows the rice seeds faster will win. This time, remembering the animal's promise, Doryeong took out his flute and blew, and the stork flew over. Thanks to its ability to fly, it soon helped Doryeong sow seeds easily. The old woman's third challenge was even more sinister, taking back all the rice seeds that had just been sown. But for the ants, this challenge is really insignificant. After 3 challenges, Doryeong was almost certain to win. However, deep down in her heart, the old woman never wanted the elf to become her son-in-law. He looked so slim and somewhat weak, so her challenges were all manual work. She brought the 2 people to the front of the 2 rooms in the house and said, "The winner will marry my daughter. Choose, my daughter is waiting in one of these 2 rooms." A mosquito was now waiting on Doryeong's shoulder. It whispered to him, "Follow me. Then fly to the room on the left." When Doryeong had just taken a few steps, the other boy, who had always been paying attention to Doryeong's movements, pushed Doryeong away, stepped on his foot, and ran to open the door to the room on the left. However, what he didn't know was that the mosquito was circling from the left to the right. The door opened, the room on the left was empty. Doryeong entered that room and met the beautiful girl. The girl already had a crush on Doryeong, so when she heard the boy's footsteps, she quickly snuck through the screen between the two rooms. The old woman clearly understood her son's feelings, so she agreed to marry her daughter to Doryeong, and the other boy was allowed to marry the maid. The two couples gave birth to children, cultivating the seeds for humanity to reproduce again after the Great Disaster. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.